Welcome to the online course, What is Open Data Journalism and Why We Need Skills to Search for Data. It is the fourth topic of the course, and we will now analyze open data journalism in the world. In this topic, we will have a look at the general data journalism approach and strategies in the world. Then, we will investigate the global open data rankings, which countries have developed the best open data access worldwide. We will then move to the case examples of Myanmar, China, and Jamaica to compare open data journalism situation and open data policies in different countries. Finally, we will see what countries are the most favorable for open data journalists and which ones are even dangerous. Thus, let's have a look at the data journalism approach worldwide. Generally, open data journalism is seen as a field of journalism that requires long-term investment and a holistic approach to growing data, and professionals who would be able to research, manage, and visualize and describe data. Because of its nature, open data journalism is usually considered as a journalism to citizens or communities, digging out the truth and supporting it by official numbers. To maintain this strategy, a long-term approach that encompasses not only training in-depth report and data skills, but also harnesses the support of data scientists and developers, provides one-on-one editing and mentoring is necessary. The goal is to make open data journalism inclusive. It has to bring together people in the open data community who have an interest to work together. Innovative. It is important to emphasize that education is necessary to cultivate data journalism. Adaptive, recognizing that learning data skills is a long-term process that requires sustained support. Accessible, it is important to identify where and how citizens get their news and information. Purposeful, journalists have to help their communities through their work. Profitable, media houses should shift to the production of in-depth report including data-driven explanatory or solution journalism that audiences are willing to pay for. With this approach to data and journalism, data journalism professionals worldwide believe that open data journalism would have a bright future. On the screen you can see the global open data rankings done by Open Data Barometer. We can see which are the dominating countries in different continents according to their open data index. The higher the number, the more open data is accessible in the country. We can see that the leading countries in the field worldwide are the United Kingdom, Canada, France, and the United States of America. These are all strong Western societies. Yet, East Asia and Pacific countries are also very high in the ranking and have a pretty good open data system that allows open data journalism to develop. On the other hand, African countries have the lowest rates of open data access, and it automatically makes the work of data journalists harder or nearly impossible. Open data journalism development level and situation is very different in different countries, and that is because different policies towards open data. It is easier to get access to open data in democratic countries, while it is nearly impossible in some totalitarian countries. We will now compare three different countries, Myanmar, China, and Jamaica, in terms of their open data journalism policies and open data journalism situation. Myanmar's political history is very complicated. The country was under the rule of an oppressive military from 1962 to 2011. The officials who ran the country suppressed almost all dissent, including freedom of information. A gradual liberalization began in 2010, leading to free elections in 2015 and the installation of a new government the following year. These changes in Myanmar offer a unique opportunity to plant the seed of data journalism. An evolving democracy, many emerging new media outlets, a growing civic hacking community, and politically engaged young people. While open data journalism is a very new phenomenon in the country because its political history and transitions, it now has its own small data journalists community. Yet, the field still requires circumspection, realism, and careful planning when setting expectations for progress in the field. At the moment, there is no freedom of information law in Myanmar, and access for government officials and the military is also very inconsistent. Due to Myanmar's historic isolation, even data on basic development indicators, which is free in almost in the rest of the world, is unavailable, and people are not given an access to the statistical data on how their country is developing, changing, and progressing. This even includes crucial issues such as health and education. Partly, this is because most government ministries have very low levels of data literacy and have a very little awareness of how data could enhance their work. The political transition in the country has not given many chances to the government officials to use and manipulate open data to improve their work in the past. However, despite the lack of public data, a substantial amount of data is collected and made accessible to people by a local and affiliated organization called the Myanmar Information Management Unit. It provides the data sets on the humanitarian development sectors since 2007. And there are more small initiatives like this that cultivate open data community. Scientists, society workers, and journalists who together form the base for the open data journalism in the country. Let's now have a look at the open data journalism situation in China. Open data journalism in China started in 2013, when Chinese newsrooms found out that the former head of China Security Services, Zhua Yongkang, was being investigated for abuse of power and corruption. Journalists immediately started preparing investigative stories. Wang Jimin Huang, a journalist and the CEO and a founder of DataWorks, saw the story in the editing room. He decided to visualize the data. The interactive piece, Zhu's Power Base, stood out among the thousands of stories on the topic. The visualization has had more than 4 million clicks, according to its producer Jim Huang. Huang is now widely cited as the first journalist to do a qualitative data journalism research in China, and his visualization is considered a turning point in Chinese journalism. It showed how open data can be used to support the journalistic arguments and how powerful data visualizations are for attracting the news readers. In 2014, this investigative project won an award of excellence from the Society of News Design. China has been experimenting with various ways of producing and using open data. Despite its relatively closed internet culture and political environment, there are many areas where open data can bring value to China. China is now in the process of releasing more data. It is not difficult to find out the most core decisions and financial reports in China because the government and the ruling party have been encouraging more data access to the public. It's surely good news for data specialists and open data journalists. In September 2015, the State Council released the Big Data Development Action Plan, and open data was officially recognized and listed as one of the 10 key national projects. The plan gave a concrete timeline for opening government data and explained the motivation behind this national initiative. It is expected that big data and open data may drive economic transition, improve China's competitiveness, and create a modern governance model. The country also introduced its social credit system in 2014. It has been a strong driver for data sharing within the government. Social credit system is a national initiative that aims to build a unified database for monitoring activities of individuals and companies. Despite the progress made by the government and communities to facilitate open data initiatives, more needs to be done, especially how to implement those policies and how to improve the open data quality. Therefore, open data community in China is driving a movement to create an open data culture. The community also works on the development of open data journalism, but this is still quite restricted due to Chinese political regime. Jamaica is one of the slowest growing developing countries in the world. Over the last 30 years, real per capita GDP has increased an average of just 1% per year. Nonetheless, Jamaica is ranked 6th in the World Press Freedom Index between the Netherlands and Costa Rica, and well ahead of the United States, which was ranked only the 45th. But Jamaica's media landscape was not always so free, and the island has made major strides in recent years. In the past 1 to 2 decades, Jamaica has experienced improved press freedom. There has been a huge growth in privately owned media companies. The government does not have a stake in the majority of local media entities, and this leaves Jamaica a good position to produce independent content. As a result, data journalists have quite a lot of freedom from the government as opposed to China and Myanmar. However, Jamaica is a high crime society, and members of the media cannot ignore the potential threat that may be associated with publishing data that the criminals don't want to be published. This is the main restricting factor in Jamaica's open data journalism development. There have been even attempts by the police to intimidate journalists. Caribbean governments were slow to embrace the open data community. In 2016, there was only one official open data government portal in the Caribbean for the Dominican Republic. However, in June 2016, Jamaica launched its open data portal, a site designed to provide access to timely and relevant data from various ministries and agencies. It was a huge step towards having an open data. Moreover, the open data program, funded by the World Bank, under which countries such as Jamaica, St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago, the Dominican Republic, have completed open data readiness assessments and are now actively engaged in the development of government open data portals and policy frameworks. What makes Jamaica a good country for data journalism is the fact that the country invests a lot of money in open data journalism education. The country is paying a particularly huge interest to develop academic program for open data journalism. The country has even established its Open Data Journalism Fellowship Program. Private media outlets also organize various workshops and training programs to educate data journalists. A big effort is also put into adapting the country's regional media houses and editors to work with the open data. These were 3 interesting examples of how different the situation of open data journalism in the world is. But there are many more restricting factors for open data journalism worldwide. Some of them may even put journalists at risk. For example, in Cuba, Yemen, Laos, and Sudan, journalists are frequently imprisoned for reporting on issues that are unfavorable to the government of the country. Syria is now absolutely deadly for open data journalists due to its ongoing civil war. Violence, kidnapping, and threats are facts of life for anyone trying to report on the conflict. In North Korea, information is tightly controlled, and keeping its citizens ignorant and misinformed about the world is one of the ways that the government hangs on the power. On the other hand, these are the countries that are most favorable ones for open data journalism. The levels of freedom of expression and accessibility of open data are very high in Nordic countries. Open data journalism is so advanced in the countries that they even often join forces to organize big events, conferences, workshops with the best professionals in the field to cultivate the development on open data journalism. Costa Rica and Jamaica have both freedom of information and well-developed open data system as well. To sum up, open data journalism is on a different stage of development in different countries. Political regimes, social, economic situation, and crime rates are all important factors that define the progress of open data journalism in the country. Thank you for your attention.